All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lionbolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration. It really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature titan for episode 289 from beautiful Colorado Springs, Colorado, none other than Krystal Stearns. Krystal, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
This is going to be killer. And again, I know that you and I have had known each other for quite some time. I've been very fortunate in my life to have a couple conversations with you. But for the audience and for the Titan Nation, I can't wait for them to get to know you as a person, as a professional, everything you do for the world. So let's dive into that, Krystal. Starting with the first question, which is really the origin story, right? So who are you? What got you into the business? Where'd you come from? And kind of leading us up to your life and career to today. Let's start with that.
Okay. Let's see. I got into mortgages in my early 20s. I didn't really know what a mortgage was. We were in the process of buying a house, and the mortgage company was kind of chaotic. And so I was like, maybe I can be like some type of an office manager to get these people organized. This was during the subprime market where anyone could buy a house pretty much, but they were just kind of disorganized and there's just a lot of chaos. I was like, maybe I can come in, be a property, like a manager, an office manager. I was newly pregnant with my oldest daughter, and they were like, man, you should be a loan officer. And I'm like, that sounds great. What is that? And so then they told me what it was, and I was like, yeah, sounds good. Like, had no clue what I was doing. And they were like, here's some people to call. Tell them you can get them a loan. So it's kind of like this cold call, kind of a refi sweatshop. I feel like I've really done business very slowly and kind of learned the hard way along the years, but hey, it all worked out in the end. So that's how I got in. I've been in for 18 years now. I've been with the same group for over 10 years, minus a 6-month stint that we can talk about later.
Sure.
But I've been with the same guys, Rob, Sylvia, and Todd Crane. We were North Point, and now we're Valor Home Loans.
Wow.
So that's kind of a record to be with the same group that long in this industry. So that says a lot about them.
Oof.
I'm a mom of four, all the way from college to kindergarten.
Oh my gosh.
Freshman in college, a freshman in high school, a third grader, and a kindergartner. And so that's definitely what I do in my free time. I've lived in Colorado pretty much my adult life, moved here in high school,
Wow.
and yeah, just rocking it out one day at a time.
Well, and that's an understatement, Krystal, when you mention that, because obviously you being an incredible mom and a business professional and really everything that you do in between, it speaks for itself. I love the fact that you had not necessarily mentioned, but I will mention it, that you are ranked top 1% in the nation. I mean, you're doing this at such a high level, and 18 years in the business is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, that is some serious time. So I want to kind of go down that road and that path through your life and kind of what made you make the decisions and what made you obviously stay where you are today or the past 10 years with that, those group of people. So let's kind of talk about that. Let's talk about the business side and kind of where your thought process leads you up to today.
Yeah. So like I said, I feel like I kind of did it the hard way, the slow way. I was at that kind of refi sweatshop. I went to Countrywide Home Loans
Okay.
right around the time that everything shifted. And
Wow.
so that was not fun to be caught in the middle of. I mean, Countrywide had a really bad name at the time. They were in the news a lot. So that was really tough for my business.
Hmm.
From there, I went to a broker shop that also just had some challenges that, life throws you these curveballs and um, different personalities. And this business can be very greedy and
Mhm.
very cutthroat. So there was a lot of that. Then I opened my own brokerage. Then I opened the first Fairway branch here in Colorado Springs. But the challenge with that was nobody really knew Fairway.
Hmm.
So from there, I went to with the group I'm with now. We were a smaller bank at the time. We were Heritage Bank, got bought out,
Hmm.
went to North Point, and so it's kind of just been like this turbulence, right? But
Mhm.
with that, you learn how to work through the hard things and you figure out how you would have done things differently. So, like I
Wow.
said, I think I learned the hard way. I think I definitely had a slow start,
Mhm.
um, but like got me where I'm at now. So I think I've stayed with this group. There's just a trust factor. It's not the cutthroat. It's not the greed. Everyone gets to have a voice within the company. I think that's really important. And they move with the industry. So, in our industry, it's important that you can handle the challenges and move along and not close your doors. When a lot of companies are closing their doors, we're thriving here. So I have a
Wow.
lot of respect for them and what they've been able to accomplish and do and keep going and keep growing. So that's kept me here.
Wow. And again, that speaks volumes about the decisions that you make and somebody of your caliber is to say, hey, why do I go where I go? Why do I align with who I align with? And what best speaks to the consumer, right? Your clients and your partners that are out there in the world trusting you and the team to really get it done at a high level. So let me dive into that side of it too, Krystal, because as you mentioned, I mean, there were some acquisitions, there was adjustments and that sort of thing. I mean, we are, ending 2024 right now. We're in December 3rd as we're shooting this right now. So, when we look at it from that standpoint, what have your thoughts been towards, kind of shifting in the industry and kind of where do you see it going from here? I mean, no one has a crystal ball, right? But just kind of looking at it from that perspective, what are your thoughts?
No, I love this question because for anyone who's in the industry that's listening, I think we can all attest that this has been the hardest couple of years that we've seen.
Mhm.
I did see the '08 crash. I did go through that. And '08 crash, let's not forget, that was like a 3 to 4 year crash. That was such an awful time in our economy and the housing industry. People were losing everything. I mean, that was such an awful, depressing time. The difference, though, is people were still buying houses quite a bit then. They were getting foreclosures, they were getting good deals, interest rates were, in the fives ish what range. Then we saw COVID, and COVID, we financially and unit wise, we killed it. But what came from that? A lot of burnout, a lot of sadness worldwide, illness, death. I mean, there was a lot of loss. So it's like, okay, we're over here killing it in the real estate mortgage game, but then over here, there's so much sadness and darkness. Then you had the whole bidding war, people paying 50,000 over for a house. And I had so many clients that they're like, I don't have $50,000. So they were pushed out. So that was such a trying time
Mhm.
that I still have PTSD from that. But then we move into this high rate environment that I don't think anyone could have predicted or expected. I
Right.
did not think I would see interest rates in the sevens and eights. I didn't think it was going to happen. After we saw that before the crash and whatnot, but I didn't think that in this time we would see that. So home affordability. So now it's kind of like, okay, now we have another hurdle, home affordability. When rates were in the twos, you needed cash to get a house.
Mhm.
Now you don't need to get you don't need the cash, but rates are in the six and sevens. How do people qualify? So it's just like, you're always going to have these hurdles, and it's just how you cross them and how you pivot around them.
Yeah.
I do think we're going to see some relief soon. I mean, I truly do. We have to, right? And
Sure.
I think what people don't realize is how important the housing market is to the economy.
Mhm.
I'll see people on comment on my videos, oh, I can't wait for a bubble. I can't wait for the crush. I'm like, you don't want that. You think
Mhm.
you're getting a good deal on a house, but you might not even have a job. So the last thing that we want, even politically, is a housing crash. So I do think that that is very well recognized. I think it'll take a little bit of time to get rates back to normal, but I do see 2025 being a positive year because it's like at this point, number one, something has to give. Number two, home affordability has to give. If we're
Mhm.
going to fix the economy, what a better way to do it? When
Wow.
it's booming, we're spending money. Real estate agents are spending money, but people are buying furniture. That those types of things keep the economy going. So I do think we'll see a relief in 2025. I think it'll take some time to correct. And I think 2026 will probably be a really, really good year.
Wow. And Krystal, again, you're showcasing just a tiny bit of your knowledge and expertise into that. And I would encourage everybody who's tuning into this, you create incredible content across media, and it's just so topic driven and information to really take and digest, not just as a consumer, but as a real estate professional. So I absolutely love that. We'll put your handles in the show links and everything along those lines in the show notes. So I would encourage everybody to tune in. But I love the fact that you're doing that, Krystal. You're constantly educating and providing value to the core audience that you serve, which I'm a huge fan of personally. And again, this is just a testament to you being a professional. As you kind of go down that road and staying positive, because you obviously are, looking at it from a glass half full sort of scenario. Um, I know that we talked before, we went, record here, that there was life and life happens to everybody. It doesn't matter who we are or, how high up on the mountain we may be production wise or a career or life. Things happen. So, Krystal, if you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to talk about kind of what you've been experiencing the past few years and kind of any story that you want to tell and weave into it for the audience.
Yeah. So I mean, during COVID, like you said, we were just killing. I think I was doing like 600 loans a year. I had my biggest month. I closed 91 transactions in 1 month. I had two new people on my team. It was chaotic, but it was fun. We were making great money. But it also, money can reveal a lot of things in your life. And they say money doesn't buy happiness, and it's so true. Because like you can buy the fun stuff, but if you don't have the time to enjoy it, what does it really matter? And then when I was so busy, I was taking so much time away from my family. During COVID, a lot of us were home, like the kids were home for half of it.
Yeah.
So they were doing e-learning, but I was working. I would start checking emails at 5:30 in the morning, and I was working till 11 o'clock at night. And so
Wow.
the toll that I felt like that took on my kids, that's like a guilt that will always like stay with me. So where I'm like, well, I would love to close 91 loans a month, but at what cost? At what cost is that to my family, my health, and just having a life. During COVID, we were all stuck at home, so it's not like we could really go do anything anyway.
Right.
But but I think that COVID was an eye opener for a lot of us just to see, what's important in life. And again, the tragedies of people that had lost loved ones or, that fell ill. I've had COVID, I think 3 or 4 times, but nothing, thankfully, nothing crazy.
Sure.
But I think it just showed a lot of what's important. And, there's a lot that goes into that. So again, it showed me that money doesn't buy happiness. I did very well, made a lot of money, bought a lot of real estate, invested it, did things like that, and that was all good. And then the past couple of years, there's just been, life has happened. I've been going through a divorce for the past few years.
Wow.
That's been very trying. You know who my ex-husband is, ex-husband to be. He's in the industry, so that was very trying.
Sure.
We're well known in this industry and in this town, so it was like people that I didn't even know were like, "Oh, I heard." I'm like, how did you hear? Like, why
Wow.
do you know anything about my life?
Sure.
So that kind of made me recluse a little bit, and
Mhm.
it made me kind of hone in on like, again, what's important and who I wanted around me and who I wanted to work with. When I was when I was closing so many loans, my
Mhm.
team was kind of chaotic. My business partners were kind of like, just you would take that phone call at 11 o'clock and I'd do that pre-approval. You would do anything to get it done. And then it's like, okay, let's revisit this. Who
Mhm.
do I want to work with? Who truly aligns with me and my goals and respects my family and my time? If it's an emergency at 11 o'clock at night, it probably isn't real estate related. It
Right.
can probably wait till tomorrow. But I just found that I was stretching myself so thin and I was giving so much time and energy into the people who weren't giving it back to me. So I really reevaluated so much in my life, and
Mhm.
again, who I surrounded myself around. And I prayed to have people in my circle and in my group that I felt like, were supposed to be in my circle, and for those that weren't to kind of go away. And it naturally happened.
Mhm.
And, even my team dissolved, which my team were people that were close to me. They were family through marriage, a best friend, people that have been on my team that we went on team vacations with. So for that to dissolve was like really, really hard and trying. But then looking back, I feel like, and I'm not super religious, I'm spiritual, but I do feel like God, universe, whatever you want to believe in,
Sure.
aligned those things to happen to help me to kind of reevaluate and to get people out of my life that maybe were no longer had a place in my life.
Mhm.
And so in turn, I was able to rebuild my team with new people who I feel like just align with who I am today. So I
Wow.
think it's important that when things happen, you kind of take a step back and you look and you kind of have that reset and you kind of
Mhm.
have that conversation with yourself. I had left the team I'm with. North Point had a bunch of changes when the industry shifted. They got rid of programs that made up for probably 50% of my business.
Ooh.
So it's like, well, gosh, what do I do now?
Mhm.
So I had met someone who was like, hey, I've got a lot of business, but I don't have a team to support it. And I'm like, perfect. I have a huge team that can support it. And my business just went down half.
Wow.
With reevaluating the agents I worked with, there
Mhm.
was a large team that didn't align with my business anymore. So
Mhm.
that was another chunk of my business. So I was like, okay, let me move that out of the way. And so going into this new partnership, I made a lot of decisions in a vulnerable time in my life, which
Mhm.
I don't recommend,
Sure.
because you kind of make decisions that you probably wouldn't have made if you were more clear headed. And so
Mhm.
I had about a 6 month stint of a bad partnership. And
Okay.
I came to, I mentioned Rob and Todd here. I came to Rob and said, hey, I just need mentorship. I need to know what to do here. And
Wow.
when I walked into this office, I was like, man, I'm supposed to be here. This is home. And so that's when I came back here. And then I had some team members come and go. And, I'm a very personable type person. I love really hard. I think of everyone as my best friend and my family. And
Sure.
so when things go sideways and people kind of betray you, it stings a lot more than just like a business relationship, right? So that was a lot. Around the same time, I had some health things come up that I kept to myself. My mom got cancer. So I'm going through a divorce, going through a job change like 3 times. I'm a
Mm.
single mom of 4 kids. Again, I've got one going into college, one going into high school, one going into kindergarten. So it was chaos. I don't know how else to say it. Pure chaos. But I had prayed for that circle of friends and just things just aligned perfectly where I met this really great, well, it was girls I had known, and Candace is one that you
Oh,
coach with. Yep. And then
yeah.
Gayla's another, and another team opulent group. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet them, like Troy and Kyla and Shelly and them. And so I feel like and Lakin, Lakin.
Mhm.
So I feel like those relationships just naturally started to come together and opened up doors for me on the business side, but more importantly on like the friendship personal side. So we have this great little group of friends now that we get together quite often, and it was what I needed, and I truly felt like they were put into my life when I needed it the most. And so with all of that, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, so all this chaos has happened. I don't want to get out of bed. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I have really bad anxiety issues. I was put on an anxiety medication that made me gain a
Oh.
ridiculous amount of weight, and I didn't recognize myself. So it's just like, okay, what do we do here? Do we
Uh-huh.
just stay in bed? No, I've got 4 kids to support and a team to support. And so what do you do? So I think really just like preparing yourself that life is going to happen.
Mhm.
You're going to lose friends, you're going to lose family members, you're going to have things that are just going to come at you. So how do you can't really prepare for those things, but how do you align yourself in your business to overcome those things, I guess. So that's something that I'm still trying to learn so that I can teach it.
Wow. I mean, but Krystal, I can't begin to thank you enough for sharing that in very personal steps throughout your life and journey and massive takeaways for the audience and myself included. I mean, looking at it from a perspective of people coming and going out of our lives, first and foremost, that is a natural progression into life. And sometimes we are fortunate enough to have people there for the long haul, but there's seasons, right? And I think that the right people stick around as they need to, vice versa, and the others see themselves out. And I think that's a healthy, natural progression to not necessarily hold on, but look forward. You taking it upon yourself to say, look, I've got people that love on me, that need me. And no matter what I'm going through health wise or personally through, your mother, I mean, dealing with that, a relationship that's shifting, you didn't let it beat you down and defeat you. And to me, that's massively inspirational because we all have tough times in our lives and we could all feel that whatever we're going through right now is the worst thing we've ever gone through. And how do we get over it? How do we get through? Is it it? And you're living proof that if you stay positive and you keep looking down the line, putting in the effort and staying consistent, that you can get through anything and in a much better position too. So, and it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't say, hey, well, gosh, that must be easy for Krystal because she did it. It's like, no, your pain going through all that was still there, very real and very apparent.
Mhm.
But looking at it from that perspective, you can either tackle it head on or you can say, this is it and I'm done. And I think the inspiring piece of that too is no matter where we are or where we're going into life, and the monetary instance that you mentioned about, money doesn't buy happiness and the perspective, if you can't actually enjoy it with the people that you love and care for, then what is this all for? And I love the fact that you're just moving and
Yeah.
continually growing because of all that. So I can't thank you enough for sharing that. That's takes a ton of humility and character. So I appreciate that for sure. And I know the audience does as well.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's not like an easy fret, and it's still something that, that I still work through every day. So I don't want anyone to think like, oh, this happened and I'm good and, everything. Like it does take time, but you have to figure out what works for you to help you because otherwise you get stuck in these things and it's like these things are going to happen in life. Like I said, you're going to lose people to death, old age, whatever the situation may be. There are financial struggles. And again, this industry, I haven't seen anything like what we've experienced in the past couple of years. And I feel like it came at us so fast and unexpected. Maybe not. For me, it felt like it was unexpected.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's really easy to get down on yourself and to get down on, like, even now, like people are like, oh, you're killing it. And I'm like, I was closing 35 to 50 loans. Now I'm closing like 10 to 15. I am not killing it, but it's easy to look like, I mean, I guess, yes, granted, a lot of loan officers right now are happy to close one loan. So yes, I'm very grateful and I'm very blessed for being where I'm at. But I think that it's important that people see that real side, because I never want people to think that I have it all together or that I'm perfect, or I have this picture perfect life, which I think people probably see now more so. I mean, again,
Mm.
I'm a single mom with 4 kids. Like clearly something went wrong there,
You,
but
you know, Krystal,
something wasn't perfect.
I look at this as things do happen for a reason, and I always try to kind of look for the silver lining into that instance. There's so much more that you are going to continue to do and grow with, and the people that are around you. So that I take as a positive, even into a negative situation, as we mentioned. And something else that leapt out as you were speaking and telling that story was really looking at it from a perspective, even someone at your level and very recently making an adjustment and a move to align yourself with incredible people and seeking knowledge and mentorship. That's just anybody who's listening or watching this right now, that should blow your mind because if you feel you know it all or you don't need anybody to support or guide, you are so wrong.
Mhm.
And look at Krystal. I mean, literally top of the game. And you're looking for growth. You're looking for alignment and people to really do that with. No one does it alone. What's that adage that they throw out there? If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And
Mhm.
I think that's kind of
Yes,
the
100%.
so
Yeah.
with that though, Krystal, I want to talk about because when we talk about top mortgage professionals and loan officers, um, it is important to align yourselves with the right people. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into your mind because you've experienced so much through your career and through your life. This second question is more tactical into it to say, if you could go back on your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you might have added or implemented that you really saw growth, movement of the needle in a positive, what would that look like for you? What advice would you give anybody tuning in right now to help them grow and scale, no matter where they're
Yeah.
at?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I definitely think the alignment piece is so huge. So when I came over with the group that I'm with now, again, that was 10 years ago. I'd
Mhm.
already been in the business for about 8 years. And when I came over here and people were doing these huge numbers, and I mean, at the time I was closing a few loans a month and I was happy. I built a brand new house at the time and like nothing crazy, right? It was like 275,000. But
Yep.
so then it was like, okay, I think I'm doing well, like for myself. Like I had my girls, I was a single mom to my 2 girls at the time, and
Mm.
I was like, this is fine. But when I came over here and I saw what people were doing, I'm like, wait, you guys are closing like 10 deals a month every single month. Like, wait, that's crazy because I hadn't really aligned myself with anyone that was doing that. And in 2015 was the year that I'd had my son.
Okay.
And the end of 2015, so I was pregnant with him pretty much the whole year. And I
Mm.
did like 21 million, which equivalent to today's numbers would probably be about 80 million because the purchase prices were like 150,000 at the time.
Sure.
But we went to we had a little award event in Georgia, and I brought my new little like 3-month-old baby. I'm like, we are going to this event. I did this pregnant. Like this is a big deal to me because again, I hadn't even heard of people like scaling to these crazy levels. Like at one point, Brian, when he worked at Compass, I think he said he did like 12 million in a month. And I'm like, what? Like, this is insane. So aligning yourself is so important.
Mhm.
Being around people who are not just doing it, but are doing it and sharing. Like, again, I feel like this business can be greedy and it can be selfish where it's like, I'm not telling you how I got this done. Or me, I'm like, let me help you skip 10 years of your career. Let me help you get where I wish I could have been if I would have learn. I just was always by myself, always learning the hard way. And so definitely alignment, I would say, is number one. And then number two is hiring people smarter than you.
Okay. Okay.
The hiring piece is really important. And Candace and I have talked about this, and I've talked about this with multiple people. For me, when I hired my first loan officer assistant, Ashlyn, she changed my life. I went from doing 5 to 10 deals a month to doing 20 deals a month with having her help, where it's like I was so scared to have that first hire because I was responsible for the food on her table at that point. But
Sure.
that helped me scale. But you have to hire someone who is better than you in the ways that you're not. So like the things that I was not good at, I needed to hire someone who was better. And even now, like the team I have now, gosh, if I would have had them during COVID, I'd be retired. Like they're so top notch. It's seriously, they're so good. They're so top notch. They're so smart to where sometimes I'm like, you're gonna take my job, you know. But yeah, I would say alignment, and with the team I have now too, like they're so positive. They don't complain. Like we don't complain about interest rates because what's the point? We can't change them, right?
Yeah.
So what's the point? And so they don't complain. They're just positive. They go for it. They don't slow down. I mean, Kyle on my team, he's only been in the business for a few years, and he's closes like 15 deals a month. Again, in this market as a newer loan officer, like he's killing it. He's so positive and he just goes for it. And then I have Katie and Ken, my front end and back end. And again, they're just so smart. I don't even worry. I hand them the file, I back out. I have Gianna that does marketing for us now. And then we just added another loan officer, Derek, who's been awesome. And then Brian, I think you know Brian Cortez. Does that
I
name sound familiar?
think so.
He
Yeah.
started with me about a year ago and he's really scaled because they're motivated, they're hungry, they're positive, they want it. And so they all have such good attitudes. And like I feel like Brian's really helped me calm down too with how positive he always is. And so it's just focusing on what you can control and then just having that support around you. So I would say the biggest thing is hiring the right people. Don't hire your cousin's friend. Don't hire, because somebody needs a job. I did that a lot. Oh,
Mm.
you need a job? Yeah, let me just find a place for you. Be careful hiring friends because that can go different ways. You want to be able to work with your best friend. That's amazing if you can make that work.
Yeah.
So I would just say, yeah, the hiring piece is huge
Oof.
to be
But
able to scale.
the two pieces of that, when you talk about the alignment and surrounding yourself with great people, internally and support through business, but also personal, that's huge for everybody to take away. Secondarily, bringing those minds into your world that they love, eat, sleep, and breathe those certain tasks that maybe as a professional you don't enjoy, you're not extremely proficient at, again, to let you use your superpower to the max, I think is crucial. I want to ask you this though, because I know the audience is maybe feeling this depending on where they're at in their careers. But what were you feeling or going through during that first hire? Because I mean, you had mentioned it like, oh, I've got to support this person's family, like I got to put food on their table, sort of scenario. But what was that shift for you? Like, what made you say, okay, now is the time? Because people ask that all the time, like, when is the right time to do that? So what was it for you back then?
Well, I would say as soon as you can afford to do it is
Okay.
probably the best time. For me, I feel like I always want everything to be perfect and then I do it. And that's not, you're never going to have perfection. So I would say when you feel like you can financially, for me to bring on Ashlyn, I was like, okay, I only need 2 more loans a month to cover her full salary plus what she wants in bonus.
Okay.
So how can I get 2 more loans? Well, the part of the job that I really dislike, which is what Kim does now, is the back end getting, hey, I need to update a pay stub. Hey, I need you to sign this form. Hey, what's this deposit? Chasing that stuff down was such a grueling task and it was so time consuming that I could never get to that next level because I'm over here drowning on this when I need to be out getting business, right? Because just like real estate agents, like I have to go out and hustle business from real estate agents, they go hustle business, in different ways.
Hmm.
So I would say as soon as you can financially do it, and I mean, you need to be able to put in the work too. You can't just, close a couple deals with, oh, I'm going to hire someone because I don't want to do anything. Hire them to take on the things that you can take off your plate that allows you to go get more deals. And I feel like every person you hire should allow you should be able to double what you're paying them
Ooh,
at
got
least, right? Same
it.
with like marketing. I feel like in marketing, you should be able to double. So,
Hmm.
my most recent hire was Gianna. She is doing marketing. She's young, and I wanted someone who was young because they would understand social media. I feel like I'm a millennial, right? So I feel like I'm kind of getting pushed out of some of that. So I was like, I need someone who's young and hip and knows this.
Sure.
And she just brings like a different level to us, and she takes so much off my plate to where I'm like, okay, she frees up so much of this time. If I pay her X amount, I need to be able to go and get this much more business. So the other big piece with that though that's super important is you have to be ready to properly train them.
Uh-huh.
And if it is like, because I've hired business development people that didn't bring any business,
Yeah.
I thought that they would just go and get it and bring it in.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't know I needed to hold them accountable. So having like proper training,
Wow.
having accountability, having proper expectations. Those things are so, so important. So, man, that hiring piece, that's going to be your number one way to scale for sure.
Whoa. And again, this was almost like a mini master class right here into this, Krystal.
Sorry.
I know there's so much more info that we could dive deep into and go through. And I think that segues beautifully into kind of your initial piece is the alignment. And anybody that's tuning into this that really enjoys kind of your journey, the story, really thinking about making a shift or a move to align with people who care, who are going to give the guidelines and the support to help grow and scale. And again, to really build a life by design in the mortgage space. I mean, the alignment is here. So what's the best way for anybody who really wants to get a hold of you or to learn more? Where do we want to drive them?
Probably, I mean, if you're on social media, send me a message on probably Instagrams. Facebook is sometimes hard because it'll hide the messages, or just call me.
Okay.
You can put my number down there. I have a business number 719-360-7171, or text me, whatever is easier. And I think that's an interesting thing that you say too, because it's like what we have at Valor has been so unique, because it's all these big dogs basically that
Sure.
put a company together to say, how do we want to be different from companies that we've worked at? What do we want to do that's better? And they've kind of just aligned all of that together. And so I recently had a friend of mine that I met in a coaching group that has recently come over, and he's like, man, he came from the broker side, and he's like, this is like brokering, but on steroids, because there's so much support. And then today, like we got on a call with him today about adding some different lenders and stuff. And it's like, how cool that you can be a new person coming into a company like this and be heard, right? And
Wow.
be supported. And so, yeah, I mean, that alignment piece is just,
Hmm.
I can't say that enough.
Well, but the truth of that situation is the best and the brightest minds, the Titans, they really understand this. And it's been echoed time and time again, Krystal. You're not the first one to talk about alignment and deep understanding of who you're connecting with, who you're learning from, but also who you're sharing your knowledge with. And it's a collaborative nature. I think that ultimately that's a massive recipe for success. So I just can't thank you enough for taking the time. It
Yeah,
flew by, just us going through just like this. We have to do this again. There's no doubt, Krystal. Again, it was an honor and a pleasure having you on the show. And I know the audience took a ton of information. I would encourage everybody to follow, to like, and subscribe anything that Crystal's a part of. We'll have, all the links in the show notes so you can do so, but reach out to her. She literally gave you her business line. Don't waste this opportunity. This is a true professional here. If anything sticks out to you, you want to reach out straight to Krystal.
yeah,
Thanks,
please do.
Krystal. Yeah, I can't thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me on. This has been great.
This is awesome. And everybody, thank you as always for your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do at this point, but I have to say it anyway. I do want to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lionbolt Media. If you are a real estate professional looking to grow and scale your business with leading edge digital marketing, visit lionboltmedia.com for more information. We're live here every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody in the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Krystal.
Thank you.